He's trying to steal it. Hey, don't let that bum touch the SUV. The shout echoed across the busy downtown street. Two police officers spun around. A wealthy businessman pointed furiously at an elderly black man whose hand was resting against a shiny black government SUV. He's trying to steal it. Within seconds, Officer Kyle Dawson grabbed the old man by the collar and slammed him against the vehicle. The crowd gasped. Coffee spilled onto the sidewalk. Phones came out instantly. Kyle shoved the old man's face against the SUV. You really picked the wrong vehicle today. The elderly man never fought back. He simply said, I wasn't stealing anything. Kyle laughed. That's exactly what they all say. The second officer pulled an old military backpack from the man's shoulder. It hit the pavement with a loud thud. Without hesitation, the officer turned it upside down. Everything spilled across the sidewalk. A folded American flag, several prescription bottles, a worn pair of boots, a cracked photograph, an old leather notebook tied with faded string. People stopped walking. Some watched. Most kept filming. Kyle picked up the folded flag using only 2 fingers, like it was garbage. So this is your treasure? Before he could toss it, the old man quietly reached forward. His voice stayed calm. Please, not the flag. Kyle smiled. Oh, so this matters? He deliberately dropped the flag into a dirty puddle. The crowd fell silent. For the first time, pain appeared on the old man's face. He slowly knelt. Ignoring everything else, he picked up the flag first. Carefully, gently, as though it still deserved respect. An elderly woman whispered, Oh my God, he's a veteran. Kyle rolled his eyes. Yeah? And now, he's homeless. So what? Laughter came from several people standing nearby. The old man quietly folded the wet flag again with perfect military precision. Every fold was exact. Every movement practiced. Officer Kyle noticed. You still acting like you're in the army? The old man looked up. I never stopped. Kyle laughed so hard he almost doubled over. You hear that? The homeless guy thinks he's still serving. The second officer grabbed the old leather notebook. What's this? A begging journal? The old man's expression changed instantly. For the first time, there was urgency in his voice. Officer, please don't open it. Kyle looked at him, then smiled. Oh, so this is the important one. He slowly untied the faded leather string. Inside, page after page, nothing but handwritten names. Hundreds of names. Each one followed by a small American flag. The laughter around them faded. Kyle frowned. What is this supposed to be? The old man answered quietly. The men I promised I'd never forget. For one brief second, nobody spoke. Then a deep engine echoed through the street. Everyone turned. 3 identical black armored SUVs rolled around the corner. No sirens, no flashing lights, just slow, purposeful, silent. The officer smiled. Kyle tucked the notebook under his arm. Looks like someone important just got here. The old man watched the convoy approach, and for the first time since anyone had noticed him, he smiled. A small, knowing, almost relieved smile. The lead SUV stopped directly in front of him. The first black SUV rolled to a smooth stop. Then the second. Then the third. Every conversation on the street died instantly. The engines shut off. No one moved. Officer Kyle Dawson straightened his uniform and smiled confidently. Finally, someone important. He casually tucked Samuel's old leather notebook under his arm. Let's get this homeless guy out of here before they see him. He grabbed Samuel's shoulder. Move, Samuel didn't resist. He simply asked, May I have my notebook back? Kyle laughed. You'll get it after we finish questioning you. The rear door of the lead SUV slowly opened. Everyone held their breath. A man in a perfectly tailored dark suit stepped out. Black sunglasses, clear FBI earpiece. Athletic build, calm expression. He scanned the street once, then spoke into his microphone, area secure. 2 more agents exited the second SUV. Then another. Within seconds, 6 federal agents surrounded the vehicles. The crowd immediately stepped backward. Several police officers exchanged nervous looks. Kyle smiled proudly. He whispered to his partner, "See? They probably caught some dangerous criminal." Samuel quietly watched the agents. His face remained completely calm. One of the FBI agents looked directly toward Samuel. Kyle noticed. He immediately stepped in front of the old man. "Don't worry, sir. We've got this situation under control." The agent didn't answer. Instead, his eyes dropped to the leather notebook tucked beneath Kyle's arm. His expression changed. He walked closer. "Officer, where did you get that notebook?" Kyle shrugged. "Belongs to the homeless guy." The agent looked at Samuel, then back at the notebook. "May I see it?" Kyle hesitated. "It's evidence." The agent's voice became firmer. "I asked, may I see it?" The street fell silent. Kyle slowly handed it over. The agent opened the first page. His eyes stopped moving. He turned another page, then another. His jaw tightened. He immediately closed the notebook with both hands, as though it deserved protection. Without saying another word, he walked quickly back toward the lead SUV. Kyle frowned. What was that about? Nobody answered. Inside the SUV, the agent leaned through the open rear door. He quietly whispered something to the unseen passenger. Only 6 words. "We found Chief Carter, sir." Silence. Complete silence. Then, a polished black shoe appeared beneath the SUV door. Every FBI agent instantly stood straighter. The street became so quiet, even the sound of a distant flag fluttering could be heard. Officer Kyle smiled confidently, still believing the person stepping out was about to congratulate the local police. Instead, every federal agent snapped into perfect attention, and the man inside the SUV slowly stepped onto the sidewalk. The polished black shoe touched the sidewalk. Then another. A tall man in a perfectly tailored navy suit stepped out of the SUV. His silver hair was neatly combed. His expression was calm. Controlled, powerful, every FBI agent immediately stood at full attention. No one spoke. Officer Kyle Dawson smiled and hurried forward. "Good afternoon, sir. I'm Sergeant Kyle Dawson. We've secured the area." The man never looked at him. Not once. Instead, his eyes searched the crowd. Slowly, carefully, until they stopped on Samuel Carter. For a brief second, the man's face softened. He walked past Kyle without saying a single word. Kyle blinked. "Sir?" No response. The FBI agents quietly followed behind him. The crowd instinctively stepped aside. A clear path formed between the suited man and the homeless veteran. Samuel looked at him, then smiled gently. "It's been a long time." The man stopped only a few feet away. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then, in front of everyone, the man straightened his jacket, placed one hand over his heart, and extended the other. "Chief Carter, it's an honor to see you again." The street froze. Someone dropped a phone. Officer Kyle stared in disbelief. "Chief?" Samuel warmly shook his hand. "You've done well, Michael," the man smiled. "I only got here because of you." Whispers spread through the crowd. Did he just call him Chief? Who is this old man? What's happening? Kyle forced a nervous laugh. "I'm sorry, sir, but there seems to be some misunderstanding. This man is homeless." The suited man slowly turned. For the first time, he looked directly into Kyle's eyes. There was no anger, only disappointment. "My name is Michael Reynolds. I serve as director of the Federal Bureau of Investigation." Kyle's smile disappeared instantly. His partner's face turned pale. Several police officers unconsciously took a step backward. Michael's voice remained calm. "And the man standing in front of you is retired Army Chief Samuel Carter. He saved my life." The entire street fell silent. Kyle looked from Michael to Samuel, and back again. His mind refused to believe it. Michael continued, 30 years ago, I was a young military investigator. Our convoy was ambushed overseas. My entire team believed we weren't coming home. He looked toward Samuel. But one man refused to leave anyone behind. Samuel quietly lowered his eyes, as though he didn't want the attention. Michael smiled. He carried 2 wounded soldiers and dragged me nearly half a mile under enemy fire. He could have escaped alone. He didn't. Nobody in the crowd moved. Even traffic seemed to disappear. Kyle swallowed hard. If that's true, why is he living on the street? Michael looked at Samuel. Samuel answered before he could. Because life doesn't always reward sacrifice. There wasn't a trace of self-pity in his voice. Only truth. Michael slowly reached into his jacket pocket. He pulled out a small worn challenge coin. Its edges were scratched with age. He placed it gently into Samuel's hand. I've kept its matching coin for 30 years. Samuel looked down at it and quietly smiled. I wondered where the other half went. The 2 coins fit together perfectly. A gasp spread through the crowd. Officer Kyle suddenly remembered something. His face turned white. The notebook. He still didn't know what was written inside it. And when Michael Reynolds slowly held the notebook up for everyone to see, he said 7 words that made every officer's heart sink. Do you even know whose names these are? Michael Reynolds slowly held the old leather notebook in both hands. His voice was calm. But every word echoed through the silent street. Do you even know whose names these are? Officer Kyle Dawson swallowed hard. No, sir. Michael carefully opened the first page. His fingers moved gently across the faded paper. These are soldiers who never came home. He turned another page. Every name belongs to someone Chief Carter tried to save. Another page. Some he carried. Another, some died in his arms. The entire crowd stood frozen. Michael looked up. After every mission, Chief Carter wrote every name himself. So no family would ever believe their son had been forgotten. Silence. One elderly man in the crowd quietly removed his baseball cap. A young woman lowered her phone. No one wanted to record anymore. They simply watched. Michael closed the notebook. Do you know why he asked you not to open it? Kyle couldn't answer. Because these men were his family. Samuel quietly spoke. I promised their mothers I'd remember every one of them. His voice never broke. But his eyes did. For the first time, the crowd saw tears. Not tears of weakness. Tears of memory. Officer Kyle slowly looked toward the folded American flag still lying on the hood of the police car. The muddy water had stained one corner. He suddenly remembered. He had thrown it there. His stomach tightened. Without thinking, he walked over, picked it up carefully, and brushed the dirt away with both hands. He carried it back to Samuel. I'm sorry. Samuel looked at him, but didn't take the flag. Instead, he asked quietly, are you sorry because he's the FBI director, or because of what you did? Kyle opened his mouth. Nothing came out. The question hit harder than any accusation. Michael watched silently. He didn't interrupt. Because he wanted the answer too. Several seconds passed. Finally, Kyle lowered his eyes. I judged you before I knew anything about you. Samuel nodded slowly. You judged me before you knew anything about yourself. The words landed like a hammer. Nobody moved. Even the officers standing behind Kyle stared at the ground. Michael finally stepped forward. Chief Carter, I've spent 6 months looking for you. Every head turned. Samuel looked genuinely surprised. For me? Michael smiled. For you. He reached inside his jacket. This time, he removed a large sealed envelope bearing the official seal of the United States Department of Justice. I've been carrying this everywhere. Samuel accepted it carefully. He looked at the seal, but didn't open it. Michael smiled. I think you've waited long enough. Samuel slowly broke the seal. Inside was a formal letter. As his eyes moved across the page, his hands began to tremble. The crowd watched in complete silence. Officer Kyle whispered, "What is it?" Samuel couldn't speak, so Michael answered for him. The Attorney General has officially approved the reopening of the Samuel Carter Veterans Leadership Foundation. Gasps spread through the crowd. Michael continued, "It was your dream. You created it years ago to help homeless veterans. When funding disappeared, you quietly walked away." Samuel lowered his head. "I didn't want anyone begging for donations because of me." Michael smiled proudly. "So we didn't ask. We found donors ourselves. The foundation is fully funded. $25 million. The crowd erupted in disbelief. Kyle's eyes widened. $25 million. Not for Samuel. For veterans. Samuel looked back at the letter. A single tear rolled down his cheek. Then Michael said something that stunned everyone even more. "Chief, there's one more surprise." And at that exact moment, another black SUV slowly pulled up behind the FBI convoy. Another black SUV slowly rolled to a stop behind the FBI convoy. Unlike the others, this one wasn't surrounded by agents. The rear door opened. A young woman stepped out. She looked to be in her early 30s. African American. Professional, elegant navy business suit. She held a small wooden presentation case against her chest. The moment she saw Samuel, her eyes filled with tears. She walked toward him slowly. When she finally stopped in front of him, she smiled through the tears. "Chief Carter." Samuel looked at her for several seconds. Then recognition slowly appeared on his face. "Emily?" The woman nodded. "Yes, sir. I'm Captain David Brooks' daughter." Samuel's eyes widened. For the first time that day, he looked completely speechless. David Brooks. One of the names written inside the notebook. Michael Reynolds quietly smiled. Captain Brooks never made it home. Emily nodded. "But before he left, he told me that if anything ever happened to him, there was one man I should always thank." She looked directly into Samuel's eyes. "He said, if I'm not there to raise you, it's because Chief Carter made sure somebody else's father came home instead." Samuel closed his eyes. He remembered. The battlefield. The explosions. The impossible choice. He had carried 2 wounded soldiers to safety. When he went back for Captain Brooks, it was too late. For 30 years, he had blamed himself. Emily gently reached for his hand. "You kept apologizing for something that was never your fault. My father called you the bravest man he ever knew." The entire street stood in complete silence. Emily slowly opened the wooden presentation case. Inside was a beautifully restored bronze star medal. Next to it rested a folded handwritten letter. She carefully handed both to Samuel. "We found this in my father's military trunk after my mother passed away. He wanted you to have it." Samuel unfolded the yellowed letter. His hands trembled. He quietly read the first line, then stopped. Tears streamed down his face. Michael Reynolds softly asked, "Would you read it?" Samuel nodded. His voice was barely above a whisper. "Chief, if you're reading this, it means I never got the chance to say thank you. You gave me every opportunity to come home. Don't spend your life carrying guilt for the decision I made. Heroes don't save everyone. They simply refuse to stop trying. If anyone deserves to be remembered, it's you." Samuel couldn't continue. Emily gently finished the last sentence. "Live the life I no longer can, because that's how I'll know my sacrifice meant something." Not a single person in the crowd could hold back their tears. Officer Kyle Dawson slowly walked forward. He removed his police cap. Then, without anyone asking, he stood at full attention. One by one, every police officer followed. Then the FBI agents. Then the crowd. Hundreds of strangers stood in complete silence, facing one homeless veteran. No commands, no speeches, no cameras, only respect. Michael Reynolds quietly nodded. "Chief Carter, you once said leadership isn't about wearing a uniform. It's about leaving people better than you found them." He smiled. You've just taught this entire city that lesson again. Samuel looked around, at the officers, at Emily, at the people who had laughed only minutes earlier. Then he spoke the final words of the day. I don't need an apology. I need one promise. The crowd listened. When you see someone who's fallen, don't ask what they lost. Ask what they survived. Silence, then applause. Not loud. Not forced. Real. Officer Kyle stepped forward one final time. He extended Samuel's folded American flag with both hands. This time, Samuel accepted it. The two men shook hands, not as a police officer and a homeless man, but as two Americans. The camera slowly pulled back. The FBI convoy remained parked. The crowd quietly applauded. The old veteran stood beneath the waving American flag, no richer than he had been that morning, but finally seen, finally respected, and finally, never forgotten. If this story touched your heart, comment on or below. Because a person's clothes can hide their circumstances, but never their character. And don't forget to subscribe to Tale Fame for more unforgettable stories where dignity always has the final word.